Scary with Today for Tomorrow, and I'm in Jupiter Farms, Florida, with my friend Jen Reelitz, and we're in her backyard food forest. I know when we first connected, I was coming at it from the environmental angle,
Yes.
what food forests do for our planet, and I found you online in an article about feeding yourself.
Yes.
Like literally feeding you and your family.
Yes.
And of course, that's why we grow food forests too. So I know you've got a lot of insight on picking plants for calories. Like, what can I grow that's going to actually transfer to weight?
Yes.
It's going to feed my family.
Yes.
So let's do a video about that. Let's talk about what you have in your food forest and what you recommend that people plant in their food forests.
Sure.
To feed themselves.
Totally. I'm really passionate about seeing people plant tropical staple crops. A lot of your folks who build food forests focus on the fruit trees, and the fruit trees are fun. The fruit trees are, from the business perspective, a little bit more expensive. But if you plant a food forest without staple crops, I don't think you did your customer a service, because the staple crops are really how you would feed people. And in the tropics, our staple crops are tropical potatoes, bananas, beans, and greens that are high in protein. So I will not build a food forest without those. The tropical potatoes that I think are really worthwhile are the yucca, the yams, the malanga and taro, and the sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes also are a green. So many of the tropical staple crops have leaves that double as a green. Then you've got your beans, your pigeon pea, your gandules, your cowpea. I think pigeon pea are superior just because they're a perennial that you plant once and they produce for years, right? And then you've got your bananas. Bananas are incredible. They produce so prolifically if you get them enough water. They're a true rainforest plant, so they need about 120 inches of rainfall a year. And in South Florida, we only get about 60. So I'm planting bananas near hoses, running drip lines, in your wet spot, where your gray water goes out of your house. Whatever you can do to get them more water, if you feed your bananas, they will feed you.
And the beautiful thing about the bananas too, kind of like the papayas, is they're fantastic, obviously, ripe, but they're an amazing starch. We don't do that in this country much.
Yep.
But everywhere else,
yep,
they take a green banana and they cook it.
Yes.
And it's a delicious starch.
Totally. Absolutely. It's a substitute for potatoes when you don't have them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got your greens that are high in protein, right? And so for me, those are the chaya, the moringa, the katuk, and a new one called Haitian basket vine. But they're all incredible greens that grow year-round, that give you a lot of protein and other micronutrients. So I think those are all really important to include in your food forest design.
Cool. Well, as we get out in the food forest, you can point those out to us.
Sure.
And kind of go into more depth on each one of those.
Sure.
All right, looking forward to it. Let's get out there.
Yeah. All right, so yucca and cassava is a tropical staple crop that produces tons of low glycemic potatoes. You can grow it from a stick, from a cutting. So if you can plant a stick, you can grow yucca. Malanga and taro are a great addition to the food forest. It's a tropical potato that boasts 3 times the starch content of white potatoes, so they taste more like a dumpling. They're incredible as a thickener in stews. The leaves are edible cooked and have 3 times the nutritional content of collard greens. Taro prefers to grow in part shade and loves a ton of moisture, so I love to include it around my bananas. It's a great complementary crop. This is how prolific yams, Dioscorea alata, are in the food forest. I put these yams in a plastic bag and forgot about them in my garage. I walked by 6 months later and saw 2 to 3 foot vines growing out of a bag. Yams can produce 10 pounds the first year, 40 pounds the second year. Pete Canaris found one growing wild in Southwest Florida that was 158 pounds. They had to carry it out with a wheelbarrow. So I think that yams are an incredible addition to the food forest. Bananas are an incredible part of the food forest. They can produce in the first year. They'll keep sending up more plants. And so long as you feed them, they'll feed you. They do want a lot of compost and water, but they make a ton of shade. They help create a happy microclimate. The leaves and the flowers can serve as forage for chicken and other livestock. And bananas are just so versatile. You can use them green, use them ripe. Green, they're like a potato, and ripe, they're like a sweet banana you get from the store. Pigeon pea are so important in a food forest. You can use them green like edamame or brown like dried lentils. And pigeon pea are nitrogen fixing. So they're making the soil better. They're incredible as a chop and drop, and they'll produce beans for you every year without replanting. I think it's unbeatable. So right here we've got chaya. Chaya is incredible. It has like one serving of a cooked green of chaya has as much protein as an egg. It has twice the iron of spinach that you buy in the grocery store. It's loaded with vitamin A and vitamin C. Hunger researchers think that chaya could help solve global hunger because of the protein content in the leaves. This is far better for you than anything you could buy in the grocery store, and it grows so easily in South Florida. You literally can propagate it from a cutting, which means you just snap off a piece, stick it in some dirt, and you've got more. It's also a pollinator. It sends up flowers. Bees and butterflies love it. Katuk is an incredible shrub to include in your food forest. What's unique about it is, among other plants, Katuk is very shade tolerant. So in areas where you have full shade or part shade, Katuk is a great plant to grow. The leafy green, it's called sweet leaf in Asia. It tastes like a pea or a peanut. You can use it raw or cooked. The nutritional content is outstanding. 49% protein, 18% fiber, vitamins A, B, and C, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and tons of iron. Katuk is incredible. It can help women boost breast milk production. There are so many things that are phenomenal about Katuk. I'd include it in any food forest.
Yeah, and you mentioned it right off the bat, Jen. It's one of the things about Katuk is it actually tastes good.
Yes.
Like we can find all kinds of leafy greens that we can eat, but we don't want to maybe.
You want to eat this.
Yeah, that's a very mild, nutty tasting,
yes,
delicious grain.
Totally.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, mango produces a ton, about 150 pounds a year, and you can optimize your mango production by planting multiple varieties. So if you love mango and you want to have it almost year round, get an early, a mid, and a late producer, and you extend your season.
And not only that, I've just got to say, it's my favorite fruit.
Yes.
And I think it's pretty hard to find people who've been in South Florida a long time and won't echo that statement.
Totally.
There is so much variety in mango flavor. It's through the roof. Really.
Amazing. Pineapple, coconut, lots of flavors.
Yeah, amazing fruit.
You can produce an incredible amount of food on a small piece of land. I have a design that will produce 10,000 pounds of food on a quarter acre. I've been showing that to folks at the county and food banks because we can use food forests to feed the hungry. When you do that, you want to include the plants that produce the most on the smallest piece of land. Those would include fruit trees like starfruit, sapodilla, avocado, mango, and jackfruit. Both sapodilla and starfruit can produce up to 500 pounds of fruit a year at maturity because they produce multiple times a year. You can grow a ton of food in a food forest. And so if your goal is food production, food forest is the answer.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing about a food forest is, when you juxtapose that to, say, just like raised bed gardens, is food forest is so passive.
Yes.
Once you plant it, it just kind of keeps doing its thing as a system, and you don't need to tend it so much.
Yes.
All right, Jen, hey, thank you so much for taking us on a tour of your food forest, for sharing your knowledge of food forests, and your passion really comes through. So I'm thinking that somebody out there is watching this video, they're really fired up now, they want to plant a food forest, but they might be a little bit intimidated on what to do, just what to do next.
Sure.
So do you have any advice?
Yes. I would say go find the resources. There are some great books by David the Good. There's Florida's Best Fruiting Plants. And also get to know your neighbors. Go on Facebook and Nextdoor, look to see if there are any food forest or permaculture groups near you, any meetups. If you can meet people, it's a great way to acquire cuttings and seeds and to learn more about what grows really well in your local area. Food forest is so low maintenance, I'm convinced it's the easiest way to grow food.
There you go. Food forest, it's something you can do. You don't have to have a super green thumb. You can get with Jen, you can get online. There's tons of resources out there. And one wonderful thing I found about food forest people, start talking to people with food forests and they will talk your ear off. And you'll learn something from every person. Everybody's friendly. You might even walk away with some cuttings. So hey, the little things we do in our daily lives today make such a big difference in all of our tomorrows. Planting food forests is a very big little thing. Thanks for watching.